Good afternoon, ma'am. We welcome you on Curious Times special edition of on Teachers' Day. This year's theme is Teachers Leading Through the Crisis and Reimagining Future. We're glad that the school accepted our invite and you're here to talk to us about the various issues that are close to your heart and also very important for the students and parents and other educators. Maybe we can start the conversation with you talking a little bit about yourself and your school, and then we can do the discussion around the topics we want to be discussing about today.
Yeah. Namaste, Deepthi, and thank you, to the team for this opportunity. Well, my name is Chakravarthy. I work for Pragathi Central School in Hyderabad. We are a CBSE affiliated school with around 3,000 students in one campus, and we have two feeder schools as well. And all three schools put together, we are about 4,500 plus students. Our school, it is affiliated to CBSE, but we cater to a lot of students in the local community by and large. So the students who come here are from the vicinity. And as a policy also, we like to take in students who are within this community. This school has a very good, history of having catered to even first generation learners. It's a very old school with, service oriented management. Our management also educates around 700 plus poor children with free boarding, lodging, all these 700 plus students. Just give me a moment. I'll just have them close the window. Yeah, my office is just on the, adjacent to the road here. So you will find those sounds. All right. So these 700 plus students, are taken from the remote villages of Telangana state. And they come from the poorest of background. And these children are given education up to, PG, graduation PG. In some cases, there are students who have also taken vocational. So it is a very largely service-driven, vision that our school management has. And, the revenue that comes from the school, the surplus, we pay the salaries for these teachers who cater to the underprivileged children's education as well.
Okay, so that's wonderful, and I really appreciate, the way your school is being run, and obviously the contribution of teachers and as well as the management's philosophy in terms of serving first generation learners, which is a very hard task also because you don't have the same support system at home, and the ownership on the teachers is pretty big in that case. So, ma'am, what we'll do is we'll just go through a few questions that we have as a part of our agenda to, discuss the theme of reimagining the future. The first thing that I would like, talk about is we say technology is playing now a big role in terms of how schools are being run, how education is being conducted, and there is a lot of content, lot of in terms of even in terms of delivery or integration, there's a lot of technology that is playing out there. What do you see as the role of technology and this role of teachers as we move along, like what role each of these two will play?
I think technology has been a part of education, school education, for more than nearly 1.5 decades. But these 2 lockdown years, have only ensured that we accelerated the pace at which technology is used in the schools. So if you look at these 2 years when we had this COVID lockdown, There was no other way that we could reach to students but through technology support. Having said that, we noticed that in these 2 years, teachers, whatever perhaps, without this COVID lockdown, they could have learned in the in the next 10 years, they started learning in these 2 years. So all of a sudden we had to rise to the, occasion. We had to, have the teachers learn the various, tools to go online and start teaching. Also, the technicalities of how to resolve issues, whenever there were technical glitches. All of this, I think teachers have learned, with not much time at hand. And the other side, we have the children also trying to adapt towards these online learning methods. Now that we successfully sailed through both the, COVID lockdown years, and we've come back to schools physically, we see that, there is a lot of interest and sustainability in terms of learning, that children find better towards, is driven towards technology. And we all know that there are various, learning styles. And obviously, when there are various learning styles, there got to be various teaching styles also. So when we look at, the various learning styles, I think technology aided teaching today has become, one of the most important learning styles for children. And then it is then a need for us as teachers to rise up to learn the various, tools of teaching through technology support and giving the children the content in the most, pleasurable way, so that they don't feel stressed. We also know that technology today is providing a lot of, content through gamification, lot of online games, lot of games, to teach through interesting ways, by providing support with creating a lot of games for the children. So we also must understand one point here. If you look at the students, or a generation of students that finished their school maybe 7 years back or 10 years back to the generation of students who are finishing school now, we find that the attention span is very less in the children today. That is, because, if you look at even in the lifestyle also, nobody wants to wait or nobody wants to be patient. They want everything, as quickly as possible. So I always keep wondering, we at home also, when we, turn on the television to watch a particular program and you have some advertisements, we are not willing to wait for the advertisements to complete. Our fingers are on the remote to go to the next channel in the meantime and come back to this again, right? So our attention span and the waiting time, has come down drastically. Nobody is willing to wait because there is something more exciting perhaps on the other window, right? I think even for children, that has become one of the most significant reasons why attention span has come down. Now that, they find a lot of variety and, a lot of interesting content available on the internet and through technology, children are not showing keenness towards physical activities as well. But, when we were studying, I think we had no other means of play but go out into the sun, in the rain, and just play. And that actually amounted to very good physical health and fitness, for all of us. But today's children are very, very different. They are not like the ones that we were when we are kids. So I think we have to keep changing, to suit their needs. All the same, the stress has to be laid by schools and families on physical fitness as well. So I think teachers are now changing their methods of teaching. So if you look at a teacher who has got about 15 years experience or 20 years experience, she would have done her B.Ed, so many years back. But she's not teaching through those same methods today. So there is constant, upskilling that is being given to teachers by all schools. What they would have taught 5 years back is not the same way they're teaching, today. Content could be the same, concept could be the same, but the method and the pedagogy by which, this content is getting delivered in the classroom, there are changes. So once upon a time, the chalk and talk methods, worked. Today, the chalk and talk methods are not working. Children want to learn through play. Children want to learn through the WAC methods, the visual, auditory, kinesthetic methods. So they always want to do things, they want to experience. So we have this, multi-sensory learning activities through which they can touch, feel, experience, and we call that experiential learning today. So CBSE also is working, a lot towards making teachers, very adept with experiential learning, because we want children to experience and find the joy of learning rather than being bookish or just, mugging up concepts. They have to understand. So I think there is a lot of change, whether it is with students or teachers, and technology is undoubtedly playing a very big role.
Right, ma'am. Thanks. Obviously, your observations are really valid, and I think everybody is progressing towards that, which leads me to our next sort of conversation that discussion that we want to have, which is around NEP. For example, it's today this year could be the first year when we are actually sort of trying to implement it because
Traveling to Edinburgh.
in the
Yes.
last 2 years we were all everybody was working only towards the goals and the targets that were there in terms of completion of syllabuses, etc. So this is first year when we are actually being able to implement it. So there's a lot of emphasis on co-curricular activities, and there is a lot of emphasis on skilling, right? And you talked about experiential learning, which obviously is there, but a lot of emphasis on how the what was co-curricular becoming mainstream now. So do you think all of that will have a positive impact, and then how on the learning outcomes of the learners?
Well, NEP 2020 is focusing a lot on skilling. In fact, Skill India that was initiated itself is a wonderful idea of making the young population employable. If you look at it, India has the largest number of youth population. I think no other country is has a population that is as young as India. So when we have the highest in number of youth population, there is definitely that a responsibility that governments have to look at in making this youngsters employable by the time they attain a certain age. And if you look at NEP 2020, I think they are looking at bringing in, artificial intelligence, coding, vocational education, all this at a very tender age, right? So right from grade 6 onwards, there is a lot of exposure given to students through the objectives of NEP to go and explore and experience the various vocational careers that children might want to take up when they finish their schooling. So it could be whether it is the initiative of the 10 bagless days, where they have to go meet the artisans, okay, the skilled people, and understand about how things are going to work for them. Or it could also be bringing in artificial intelligence and coding and things like that, or whether it is to do with even mother tongue instruction or regional language instruction that NEP is talking about very emphatically. Because per the NEP 2020 and the research, I think it is quite convincing that all of us understand that concepts can be best taught and understood through mother tongue or through regional languages rather than a foreign language. So, as to how far this is going to materialize and, replace, uh, English education or English instruction with regional language or mother tongue language, we still are yet to see. But there is a lot of scope on getting the children to comprehend and, focus on concepts rather than taking a chunk of the syllabus. So they have also looked at bringing down the content That means if it was, so many chapters, bringing down or reducing the syllabus for children is also primarily looked at, because concepts, even if it is less, the number is less. Children have to understand, rather than doing so many concepts, do few, but, do it, well versed and, with in-depth knowledge. So when we look at co-curriculars, or when you look at extracurriculars, and when you look at the multidisciplinary aspect, I think NEP coming up with this, opportunity of children taking, multidisciplinary, what do I say, streams. For example, there was never a time that a child could take dance with mathematics or dramatics with sciences. So when NEP is trying to bring in that kind of a, magical revolutionary shift, I think it is going to definitely help children, because children today, because of the less time that they have for physical activities, there is also that scope for them to want more of physical activity. So there are many children who are looking at taking careers also towards, uh, theater, towards fine arts, okay, towards culinaries, and not looking at the core academic areas. So I think, co-curriculars, extracurriculars have always been given importance in CBSE schools, particularly. But the emphasis through NEP is going to be even better in terms of getting the children to have that exposure, to have opportunities through these co-curriculars. And that way, I think parents are also convinced then that though my child takes up dance, there can be a career with dance, and my child along with dance can also take up academics. So that kind of an assurance is being given to parents, hopefully through NEP 2020.
That absolutely, right, that all these opportunities are obviously opening doors for a lot of children who would not fit into the mainstream, or the way we had, science or humanities, and we had made barriers in terms of how the streams were being picked. So ma'am, another thing that we've observed now is like there is a lot of emphasis on mental health and well-being of children, and especially post-COVID. This is something which almost every school teacher or parent, everybody's almost have to address it in some way or the other. What do you think, can a teacher play a role in mental health and well-being of children, while because children almost spend like 8 hours in school in some form or the other, and which essentially means that their waking hours, they are more within the premises than at home or in their playgrounds, right? So what is that role that teachers could play along to help to for the mental health and well-being of children?
Um, well, I think it's not with regards to or in connection to the two uh, COVID years, but I think teachers have always played an integral part when it comes to giving that support system for the mental well-being of a child. We find that many students, in fact, have teachers as their confidants, where they share anything that is sensitive and confidential with teachers. I think one reason could be with both parents working and not being able to give that kind of time to children. I think, children fall back on the teachers and the school systems for guidance. That is one. Two is, we all know that, parents or the teachers, in terms of sharing something sensitive, again, children look at falling back on the shoulder of the teacher, because they feel that if my parents get to know, it becomes indelible in their minds. They will never forget this incident, you know. But if it's my teacher, she can guide me like a mother, like a friend, and she's also going to keep it very confidential. So maybe, I can discuss this with my teacher. She'll be able to give me solutions better, rather than, discussing with parents is also there. Now, I will not say that all students share everything with the school and the teachers, but I would definitely say, a good 60% of the students, share either directly with their teachers or with their classmates. And through the classmates, it's the teacher who gets to know. There are some children who do not like to share even with the teachers. But then invariably, children of that age who are adolescents and teenagers, they share with their friends and classmates. So they have that one confidant in their group of friends, and they tend to share. And through that confidant, this gets to get passed on to the teachers. So in such a scenario, when we get to know, as a teacher, when I get to know that one of my students is facing this kind of an issue or going through a little bit of a mental turmoil, and I got to know through one of her own friends, obviously I'm not going to stay quiet waiting for her to come and tell me, but I'm already going to prepare the ground to see how I can address it in such a way that she feels comfortable in my care. So schools today have psychological counselors, okay, who are very much in and out of the classrooms with the children, okay, talking to them, sitting and eating with them. They are made to feel very comfortable with these counselors. And even in the school assemblies, we tell the children that there are some problems that you cannot get solutions from your peers because they are also as young as you. So these kind of problems should always be discussed firstly with your parents. But if you don't find that comfort, do not stop there. At least reach out to us. So when we do this various counseling sessions, Deepthi, we also tell the children that there is something called a good touch and a bad touch. We also tell them that there are so and so people called safe adults. So every child is made to map 5 safe adults. So these 5 safe adults could be parents, okay, could be teachers, could be the school principal, it could be anybody, or the aunt or the uncle, it could be anybody. But 5 safe, and we use the word adults because if we don't use the word adults, then it is their own classmates or their own peer group. We do not want that, so we say 5 safe adults, and we tell them that you can tell these 5 safe adults anything that you feel, and they will not judge you, they will not punish you. They will try to come up with solutions in a very sensitive and friendly manner. So in our counseling sessions, when we tell children this, then they find us to be those so-called confidants. They find us to be those assuring adults, right? So many things, we get to know in schools, much more than, much more quickly than the parents, would get to know. And that actually makes schools doubly responsible and cautious in how they tackle these issues. And we also know that children in their adolescence, they go through so much of an identical crisis or maybe uncertainties, right? And they're very confused and dazed about everything around them. So during that kind of a period, I think these 5 safe adults have the biggest role to play. Then we also have, in Telangana, we have all the schools enrolled, in the she teams of the police department. So we have, coordinators, who would coordinate with this she team department of the government, and the school. So that way also, especially the girl children, they get a lot of support system. All right. They know who to go to when there is a problem related to this, and they know how to handle it, how to tackle it, and things like that. So constantly, just as much as the curriculum is being focused on, we ensure that we keep talking to the children very so often, and we do not wait for situations to come up. What is to be done, we continue to do it as part of the curriculum. For example, if you are in grade 8 and you're doing algebra as a third chapter, every year, the grade 8 math teacher teaches algebra. Similarly, we have the adolescent talk, the safe adult talk, the good touch and the bad touch talk every year. And perhaps, a child who's in nursery would understand the difference between a good touch and bad touch for so many years till she finishes 10th standard in our school. So it could be a repeat, but it is a refresher. It is reassurance for them that, we are there for you. So these talks never go old. They never go, bored, because they are very important, and we have to keep talking to the children on this. And we also have feedback boxes everywhere where children can post their queries. Okay. And, we also look at ensuring children are given a lot of scope to vent out anything that is disturbing their psychological, frame of mind. So that way, it's any school you take, I think, they are focusing a lot towards the mental well-being of the children. Of course, we do have, this non-corporal, policy. Okay, we do not punish the children anyway. Similarly, we do not use derogatory words, deteriorating words. Okay, so we want to be as friendly as possible with the children so that they get the maximum, from us as educators.
Right. So, ma'am, now in the interest of time, I'll also take you to one of the other important questions which we've been discussing with, some of the other senior leaders in education. The schools, as a format, we have 10 plus 2, and we're preparing children for the higher education, right? And at the same time, we find, there's a lot of ed tech companies. There are a lot of private coaching that happens in the same space where students are getting a formal schooling at formal education at school. Child almost spends 8 hours in school, right? And then they're invariably seen spending another 3-4 hours in extra coaching, etc. So just wanted to, understand your views on that. What would be an ideal or an optimum mix in your mind, right? What should be the role of the coaching classes, if at all, right? And do they need to supplement, or are the schools enough? How should parents look at it? How should students sort of look at it? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, see, you're talking about the regular academics, versus the competitive, curriculum, the competitive exams and that curriculum. All schools today, I think, have this challenge. In fact, there are quite a few schools that also offer uh, NEET Foundation and IIT JEE Foundation. We also do that in our school, but especially for the older kids, we do it 1 hour before the school begins and 1 hour after the school ends. So, and we make it very optional. In fact, there could be a child who is a topper, but she's not interested in taking, this math and science coaching. It is absolutely okay. We do not force the child. And even when parents try to force, we try to tell the parents that perhaps she has other career options in mind, and try not to push something that she is disinterested in. Okay. And the parents, in fact, we have many parents who actually push their children to go, for this curriculum. So one is that we don't make it mandatory. The second point is we give it to children who get above 75%. Okay. And this above 75% is, the overall academic performance of the whole year in math and science. So we take the consolidated scores of math and science, and then we offer it if the child gets more than 75%. We also have some parents who would have got less than 75%, less than 60%, but they still want it. So though we try to convince them and tell them, some say, it's okay, just give them a chance. So in such a scenario, I know that it is going to be stressful for students. At the same time, I do not want the child to be sandwiched, between the parents there. So we offer it maybe for 1 or 2 months, and we say we'll just offer for 2 months. In case the child is able to cope up without any stress, then we'll continue. Otherwise, we will not. So then the parents are okay with that, and then they themselves understand that maybe this is not right for my child, and they try to bring the child out of that curriculum. So we have, though it is during, the school working days, but we have these children who come to school at around 8 o'clock. So 8 to 8:45, the first slot for them is this, IIT Medicine Foundation coaching. Okay. Then 8:45, the school starts for the regular students. So these children go back to their classes. Again, they have this class from 3:30 to 4:30. And 3:30, these children, the rest of the children who don't opt for this, they leave the school. So we have it before and after school hours, and we do not put too much of a pressure on them. But we also have, data from our ex-students who passed out in the last, maybe 10 years, 12 years, who took this curriculum and passed out. Most of them have given us a positive feedback saying that we are able to do the curriculum better in 11th and 12th because of this foundation that we received in school. That is also there. Okay. So it largely depends, on each one's perspective. But as a school, since we do not force it onto the children or we do not make it compulsory, we don't really worry much about that aspect.
Yeah, sorry. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting and nice. I mean, doing it before the school starts and closes, and actually, the student is able to get that whole thing within the school. I think that's a good step to make it more balanced. I think just to wrap up our conversation, do you also provide career counseling to your students? How do you guide them through, maybe through their middle school or something to up to the senior school? How do you guide them through around their career choices, etc.?
Well, when it comes to career and guidance, I think more than the children, it's the parents who need to get the guidance. Because I don't know whether to say unfortunately or fortunately, but it is the parents who take the call. They are the ones who call the shots. Though the child goes back home and says, I want to be this, the parent will say, no, this is not for you. You have to do this. And because it is the parents who fund the education of these children, they have no say but go with whatever the parents say. Right. So that is the sad part of things. So I think, guiding a child towards a career may not be complete if we do not guide the parent first in our school setup. Okay. So here in our school setup, it is the parent who has to be given that career counseling. The parent has to be given the career guidance. The parent has to be told that there are so many avenues, in so many streams. And whatever you think as that engineering or medicine is not the be all and end all. There are many, very, very interesting and challenging career options available for children of this generation. So even parents do not know, most parents don't know. So unless we have career counseling sessions for parents, I don't think it is very, very necessary for children. But I feel, this is my perspective again, I feel it is the parents who need to have that career counseling. Because if the parent is convinced that, okay, my child is asking for this, and I heard that there is this kind of an option with that kind of an avenue, that kind of an opportunity, and that kind of a lucrative, revenue when he gets into the work or job market, I think, he will also support his child to take up that career. End of the day, for most parents, it is not about enjoying the job. It is about how lucrative the job is, how much of pay, is getting generated through that particular career option is what many parents look at. So in a scenario like this, I think, it is the parents only who first need to be guided as to what those various options are. Because if your child, I think the child being interested in math and science is the primary finding that we in schools also do. But a parent should understand that every child who is into math and science doesn't necessarily need to be a doctor or an engineer. There are also other options which the child will find interesting in research, okay, or any other field. But again, it is to do with math and science. So I think, in our school, every year we do have this career guidance. We have, people who come over, and we make it mandatory for parents to be here along with the children attending this session. So we have this for grade 9 and 10 children. Okay, we do not do any psychometric tests and all that, but we have a very, very well-rounded career guidance session. Parents attend, they get to know the various avenues available in various streams. And then eventually we find that most of them again go back to the math and sciences, the engineering and the medicine, most of them. Okay. That is how it is. But we do have career counseling sessions for parents and children. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Those are interesting, obviously insights, and we come across that with all our conversations where we find most of the schools actually sort of struggling with parents' expectations. uh, with that note, I want to really thank you for all your time. And we're sure that our audience are going to enjoy your interview. And so will your school, parents, faculty, and parents. Uh, and I would like to wish you and your faculty and everybody in your school a very happy Teachers' Day. And we wish to see you all grow, and we look forward to staying associated